Yo, what's up, Hoophead Nation, and welcome to Buzzer Beaters. I am Eddie Aparicio. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral, and we are an NBA podcast that's brought to you by gremlingsmedia.com, and we are here live because we want to take your questions. We're live here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Tonight, we're going to go ahead and talk about the legendary LeBron James, who started his third season, his record-breaking third season, and he got a commemorative patch to essentially commemorate his third season when he played the Kings. So we'll talk about that. Is he the greatest of all time? I don't know. We'll see. That legend continues to grow. Then we got also the other, kind of underrated legend in James Harden. James Harden just passed up Shaq O'Neal to be the ninth all-time leading scorer. Is he kind of considered one of the all-time underrated guys in NBA history? We'll talk about that as well. Then there's all this trade speculation, right? We've heard about Ja Morant, potential destinations that Ja Morant can go to. Can he go to the Heat? Can he go to, the Bucks? Can he go to the Kings? I mean, there's a lot of different teams that are kind of linked to this guy. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of the best destinations and some of the best trade partners for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then we're going to go ahead and dovetail into our weekly Warriors segment. We're going to go ahead and talk about, where they're at right now. What are some of the things that should be doing better and have they turned a corner? We're going to talk about all that stuff. All right. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, brother. So LeBron James, all right, he actually started his career against the Sacramento Kings 23 years ago, which is why he had this commemorative patch, all right? Record break 23rd season, because do you know who the other guy who had actually 22-year career in the NBA? I mean, you probably didn't know, but I'm going to throw it out there. Do you know who the guy who has...
let me. Well, it's not Kareem, because that would be obvious. I think Kareem played 20 on the nose, right?
He played a little bit over 20, but yes, at 20,
I'm going to go with Robert Parrish.
You're close, bro, but it's, Robert Parrish.
I think you locked up on me.
So LeBron James...
hold on, Eddie. I lost you for a second.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
I think that yeah, I got you. Who was it? I guess Robert Parrish.
So it wasn't. It's Vince Carter. Sanity.
My God.
Vince Sanity was the guy that LeBron broke his record against. I mean, as far as the 23-year career, Vince Carter had a 22-year career. But you were right in some of these other players that have had, there's other players that have had 21 years, and Robert Parrish is one of them. That was a really good pool, man. So yeah. I'll give you another. Let me give you a couple guys to guess, and I'll go ahead and tell you one that I think you'll get. Okay, so one guy is actually still playing, but he got, we had a podcast a few weeks ago where we thought it was kind of Bush League that he got let go. Who is that?
Chris Paul.
Right, Chris Paul. It's 21 years, right? The other guy, same draft, and played for Don Nelson, all right, as Steve Nash. Who's that?
Played for Don Nelson.
Yep. Actually, Don Nelson proclaimed this guy to be the best player in the draft when he drafted him.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, all right. And then the other guy who you actually were saying when we had our player greatness index discussion, we also had a one-on-one, remember the greatest one-on-one player, and then you were kind of hyping up this guy as, a power forward that actually would create some problems, man.
Yes, Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, all right. And then the last guy, these are all guys that have played 21 years, all right? So Vince Sanity is the one that LeBron just broke at 22 years, and LeBron's at 23. All of these guys are 21 years. The last guy, man. Now this one, I'm gonna make it a little harder for you. All right. Okay. So this guy played center. Okay. He played for the Warriors. Okay.
Okay.
Wasn't necessarily like a superstar player, but just had a long career. He has the same first name as somebody that you already just mentioned. All right. The power forward guy that you just mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. So I just gave you some clues, and the last clue, if I give it to you, you're gonna get it. But who is the other guy? Who's this other guy?
First name is Dirk.
Nope.
Kevin, Dirk.
Yes.
So Kevin. All right, Kevin.
Yes. Play for the Warriors.
Kevin.
All right. If you're not gonna get this in another couple.
Yeah. No, I don't. I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. I'll give you his last name starts with a W.
Oh, Willis.
Yeah, Kevin Willis. All right, brother. So, the T-Rex. That's what I didn't want to give it away, because T-Rex, you would have gotten it like that.
Yeah, T-Rex.
So
for those that are too young, look up Kevin Willis. He's 7 feet tall, and he probably had a wingspan of 4 feet.
and I think D'Anthony Melton has a longer fucking
I
freaking
think he
wingspan
does, dude.
than Kevin
And I'm
Willis,
not
dude.
just kidding. I almost can guarantee you he does.
He does, dude. All right. And then you already mentioned the aforementioned Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He had a 20-year career, right? So that's that's impressive, man, that LeBron James got to 23 years. And one thing that I kind of want to look at is kind of percentage of games missed versus played and what his percentage played over his career is. I'm sure he's the highest because he
Well,
spends so much money on himself to stay at optimum health, right? So I don't think he's missed much games in his career, which is why, he's the all-time leading scorer, right? If you look at
yeah.
the gap between him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it's more than 4,000 points right now, bro. Right? I mean,
Yep.
LeBron James is at 42,654 points, and counting, and Kareem, and we thought Kareem's 38,000
Was never going to get caught.
would never
Yeah.
get caught, right? And this
Yeah.
guy, caught him. And it wasn't even considered like a scorer. He was more of a distributor, right? So, there's going to be a lot of like LeBron James lovers out there. They're going to say, this guy's the GOAT, right? Especially if he's wearing this commemorative patch right now. And I don't know if you know this, bro, but he actually has a kind of a deal with Topps. I don't know if you know this. But,
no, I don't know.
okay, so what he's doing, this is kind of like supporting your whole LeBron. All he does is care about his brand.
LeBron
right?
worries about LeBron. That patch was invented by LeBron and his team. I guarantee you that.
So what LeBron James has, he has is this commemorative patch that he has to go ahead and take off after every game that he plays from here on out. Okay, and Topps is going to go ahead and put that into various trading card packs, right?
Of course.
Just arbitrary trading card pack. So it creates some worth about this, right? So that's interesting. So that's what he's doing.
That's LeBron in a nutshell, bro. That is him in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I will tell you this though. Something that jumps out at me that I think is pretty fascinating.
Right.
Out of all the players you named,
yes,
Vince Carter was the only one that I'm off the top of my head that had to significantly change his game to stay in the game as long
absolutely.
as he did.
Absolutely.
Which I give him credit because almost every other player that you named, from Chris Paul to Dirk Nowitzki to Jabbar, their game was pretty much the same. They just played a game that was conducive to a long career. Nothing too flashy. For any youngsters that are not, I can't believe no one's aware of Vince Carter. But for those of you, man, look at Vince Carter early on. That dude, in my opinion, top 2 greatest dunkers of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A fantastic athlete.
His dunk contest that he had in Oakland, okay, at the old Oracle Arena, where the old where the Warriors used to play before they're now at the Chase Center right now. That is considered probably one of the more legendary dunk contests by one person of all time. But I would say that there are others that have actually come. I would argue that the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk contest was probably the best one we'll ever see so far, right? Because that was unbelievable. Right? Prior to that, right, Vince Carter was considered, he had the best dunk contest of anybody of all time until those two met each other a few years back, right? So but Vince Sanity is legit, and I that's a good point, bro. He did recreate himself because he was kind of like these drive to the basket and just dunk on you, man, just dunk on your ass, right? And then he became kind of a more. No, but then he became that. He became that over time. He got better at shooting, right? I mean, it goes to show you can work on your craft and get better at things, right? Special note, Jonathan Kuminga, right? Right? You want to kind of work on your craft, right? And get,
I'm sure we'll be talking
versatile.
about him.
We'll talk about him later, right? But you can recreate yourself. I mean, look at Karl Malone. Karl Malone recreated himself. He had no outside shot to consider in his first few years in the NBA. You had Patrick Ewing, wasn't even close to an offensive player when he came out of college out of Georgetown. He was more a defensive presence. You have Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was a defensive guy. He became this offensive force that we see today, right? And then Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, that guy was just nothing but just dunks all the time, and he still does that. But that guy is like versatile as heck.
No, he is. So he is. Yeah, agreed.
You can work on your craft and get better. And definitely a tip your hat to someone like Vince Carter for having to. He stayed in the NBA for 22 years. But LeBron James, man, LeBron James is somebody that I think, he's in the twilight of his career, right? I mean, he's not playing at the same level that he used to, although he still has his games here and there in his spurts, but it is Luka Doncic's team, right? But he is still playing at an unbelievable pace at 41, bro. All right. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
this guy's in unbelievable shape. So bravo
no,
to
no. As much as I give him crud, he has very successfully planned out his career, and he has met, I would imagine, 99% of the goals that he laid out for himself. I mean, I'm sure there's one or two that he has out there. So for that, I give him kudos. I mean, there is something to be said to having a 23-year career, staying mostly healthy, staying out of any type of spotlight trouble that a lot of these athletes find themselves in.
yeah,
Win championships. Now, obviously, not winning as many as he could have, but in terms of a player, he is great in the sense that he's self-made.
yeah.
He would he be the question I have was, would he be as great as he is if he didn't think about all these things and plan all these things and just played ball?
So you're saying that
So
you're saying that
the way he GM teams, the way he moved to Miami, the way
oh,
he spends so much money on his self-care, the way he's worried about his brand, the way that he hired his classmate from back in the day to be a super agent, the way that, I mean, he controls his whole environment. And I'm wondering how much of that piece, how much of the, I'll call it manipulation, but that's an unfair word. That's a negative word, and I don't mean it that way. But as much as he's manipulated his career, how much of his greatness is in the manipulation versus his actual greatness as a player?
I think you can't dispute his greatness as a player, bro. I mean, as
Yeah,
much as we Warrior fans hate to admit it, that guy's a beast, dude. He
yeah.
is, man.
No, he
And
is.
I would argue that this, we'll call it, I don't know if you want to call it manipulation, but I'm using your words, right?
Yeah, I don't know what word.
His
If you got a better
his
word, I'm all for it.
his his manner of controlling the environment that he just that helps him kind of be the player that he is right now, right? I mean,
Yes.
because he is kind of trying to control the environment. And you can say that, the way he's kind of made up that this, some people need some of this external stimulus to motivate themselves, right? It probably puts pressure on him to perform. He has to live up to the hype, live up to the expectations. This brand that he's created for himself, he has to live up to it. So therefore that makes him more focused, right?
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
possible that
Yeah.
there are people that are like that, man, right? And
Yeah.
maybe he's the guy that's he's kind of like the
But
stereotype,
what's
right?
interesting, I mean, Jordan was like that, but Jordan found it outside of himself. It seems like what LeBron does is he creates this story,
Yeah,
and then he puts pressure on
on
himself to live
himself
up to
to
this story.
perform,
Yeah.
to
Yeah, yeah. So
outperform it,
that's what
right?
I'm saying is he controls it to that degree,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
so I think that contributes to his greatness. So I guess the question, how much lesser of a player would he have been? Would his career have been shorter? It's just an interesting thing, It's just, to me, truly, I don't think there's ever been a player like LeBron, like ever, like in a lot of different ways. I mean, there's been players that are big, like Karl Malone, and can attack the hoop, and there's been players that are 6'9", 6'10", that can run the point. All of that has existed, but all of that and the way he's, from day one, like, this is who I am, this is how it's going to play out, this is what we're doing, this, like, he's owned it from day one. He's a he's a businessman that plays basketball.
But dude, I mean, you got to give it up for this guy
Yeah.
because he had all the pressure as a high school kid, right? To be in like, to be the next Jordan. He was being
Yep.
outed as that back in high school.
Yes, he
And
was.
then to
King
have
James
all that
moniker was in
pressure,
high school.
have that all that pressure to be the number one pick and then deliver, bro.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, man, when he first came out in his first rookie year, I was like, oh my God, this guy is like a whole nother level. Oh my God, we might be seeing the best that we've ever seen, especially under the microscope that he was under, and most cave, So that kind of was the precursor to maybe what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's like he lived up to this hype. He had all of this pressure, and he delivered. Maybe he likes the pressure, man. He likes to have this controlled environment to create this, like, he creates this stage of pressure for him so that he can perform at the level that he performs. It's very possible, man, because he had that from the outset, right? That's all he knew. So he
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
recreate this environment over and over again. So he's always playing at a high level. You can argue that that's a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I can only think of two other athletes, three maybe, but that have lived up to that, and that's Tiger Woods and Serena and Venus Williams. Those are really the only ones that I can think of that had a lot of pub, as really young people and lived up to the hype. And even Tiger later in his life, it all fell apart. The Williams sisters, it never did. But no, you're right. It's not. I mean, we all remember the Todd Marinoviches and all these other type of players that had all this hype in them, and they just crumbled, for whatever reason. So no, again, he's a very unique player. I give him all the flowers that he's either generated for himself or that he's getting. Because even if I don't, which I don't consider him the greatest player ever, he's still a very great player, and he's done a lot for the game of basketball, and put a lot of money in a lot of people's pockets.
It's gonna be interesting, bro. You know how like when we were, first kind of, watching the NBA when we were kids, and it was all Magic and Larry, and then all this hype about Larry, and at the time we're like, oh yeah, come on, man, Larry's just Larry, right?
Yeah.
But then after he retired, you kind of appreciate him way more for what.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing's gonna happen here with LeBron, man. I think the same thing's gonna happen again with him, because there's all this, like you said, he kind of creates this environment, controls the environment. He's all about his brand, this and that. And then, he's always kind of catering to the rest. He's always arguing, and he's just kind of like this guy that you kind of don't like as a Warrior fan, just because of what you say, man. But when he retires, I think we're going to look back and go, okay, it's possible he might be the greatest of all time. It's possible. But for us who have seen Jordan play, and of course we have this player greatness index to kind of prove that all out, right? It's going to be hard for us to ever dispute that.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, Eddie, part of my bias, I think me, and maybe you let me know for you as well. I'm the kind of fan that loves my athlete to go out there and give it everything they have. Pete Rose, Michael Jordan, like Jeff Kent, like these type of players that are just going to bust their ass tomorrow, screw, whatever, I'm going to win today. And so to me, that is a big piece in the greatness. And LeBron's never been that. LeBron is business. LeBron has always been business. And that's where the part for me that I don't like, dude, you're just calculating everything. Like I'm thinking you could have won 8 championships if you just gave it everything. And maybe you wouldn't be playing today, but maybe you'd have won 3 or 4 more championships, and that's kind of what runs through my head. Like, you're just very calculated, and that I lose affection for that. I'm just like,
I hear you.
I
hear you, man.
I hear you.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But you can't argue how
cannot.
good this guy is, man. Put his kind of branding aside, or even his personality aside, kind of just put away your hatred for the guy. Dude is an incredible basketball player, and he's in incredible shape. And being able to do what he does at 41, it's amazing, man. And I don't see this guy retiring. I mean, if he decides to leave the Lakers, there's going to be so many teams that are going to try and get him on the team, right? They're going to. I mean, he's not going to leave. He's not one of these guys that has completely lost his game and can't get a job, at 41.
No. At this point, is he willing to take 20 million instead of 50?
Right.
And if you are, you could play 5 more years easily.
Right.
Easily play 5 more years.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's eyeing 50,000 points. That's another 4 seasons.
And I also wouldn't be surprised if that written in a notebook somewhere under his goals in 25 seasons, 50,000 points. You kind of like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, I just want to go ahead and point out LeBron James. Kudos to you, man, for commemorating your 23rd season. These patches, who knows? Maybe we can get one of these patches and sell it for a lot of money in the future, man. But anyway, let's go ahead and dovetail into James Harden, man. All right. Now, is James Harden considered? Would you consider him probably one of the more underrated best players we have ever seen?
Yes.
I tend to agree with you.
And
it's sneaky.
And what's funny is, as I'm reading this, who he, not as a player, but as a career, he reminds me so much of Charles Barkley.
Yeah, interesting.
Barkley was a phenomenal talent, but because he never even got, he never won a finals. He got to one, at least I remember, with Phoenix, that his career was thought less of.
Yeah.
And I think Harden, I'm going to venture to say, even if Harden wins one in the next couple of years, I don't know if it's going to impact his legacy, because if they win one, it most likely won't be him carrying it. It'll be somebody else carrying it. But yes, I think James Harden is very much underrated. And when you look at our greatness index, it had him ranked higher than Curry. Harden is a hell of a player. with, to go outside of basketball, he's had a little bit of the Barry Bonds effect, where when the postseason comes in, he starts playing much worse, which is what happened to Barry Bonds. When Barry Bonds played in the postseason, he kind of sucked. And Harden kind of sucked when he plays in the postseason. And really, those two things, not winning a final, or not winning a championship, and postseason he's lesser of a player in the postseason than he has been in the regular season. I think those things affect it. But as a regular season player and as a basketball player, he's a phenomenal talent.
I agree with you. And the thing is, since you brought up the player greatness index, okay?
Yes.
And for the audience, this is a metric that Tuan and I created a few months back. It was essentially trying to take out the subjectivity of who the greatest players of all time are, because there's all these arguments about is it LeBron? Is it Kobe? Is it Jordan? Right? And we wanted to kind of remove all of that. So we came up with this system, and you can go back to episodes, I think it was 45, 46, 47, where we kind of define all this and we kind of roll it all out. But this is what Tuan was referring to. And just to kind of point out the number, okay? So in our player greatness index, we had, the top, we went all the way from 1 to 75, or actually, I think we even went to 100. But, it's a work in progress, right? But this is kind of giving you kind of like a fixed stock price, if you will, on a player's career, right? And how he is relative to everybody else. And Jordan, just to give you an idea, his metric or his number was 5,491.3. He was number one. Okay. Now, if we go to James Harden, and you made reference to James Harden and Steph Curry, James Harden's number, and this was a snapshot back then. Okay. We haven't taken into account the stats he's been accumulating since. So his number is going to continue to increase. But at the time, he was 19th. Okay. Jordan being number one, James Harden was 19th. His rating was 3,559.4. Curry's he was at 21. He's ranked 21, and he was at 3558. So he's only off by 1.4 basis points off of Harden now, right? So that gives you, it's interesting. Now, when we were kind of like talking about it, when we rolled this out, we're like, man, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then when you look at when I look at the numbers, okay? So if you look at all-time points, right? LeBron James is number one. Right now, it's counting. It's 42,654 points and counting, right? James Harden just passed up Shaq O'Neal. Shaq O'Neal was at 28,596. James Harden is now at 28,614 and counting at number 9. The next guy on his list is Wilt Chamberlain, okay, at 31,419 points. To put it in perspective, Steph Curry, he's right now number 21 on the list. James Harden's 9th, Curry's at 21. Okay, Steph Curry's at 26,257 points, which is roughly roughly 2,360 points less. Okay. So you can see right there that James Harden significantly more points than Steph Curry, and they have a similar career as far as the number of years that they've been in the league.
Yep.
If you look at assists, John Stockton's number one at 15,806. That's a ridiculous number, right? Chris Paul's number two at 12,552. James Harden is number 12 at 8,604. Steph Curry's 28th.
Yeah.
At 1,691 points. It just kind of illustrates how much better from a statistical standpoint James Harden is to Steph Curry. But we all know Steph Curry is significant.
I bet you Curry's got him on rebounds, though.
Maybe. And maybe more rebounds, probably around the same amount of turnovers, by the way.
Yeah.
But
we don't want to talk about that.
But Steph Curry has a lot more hardware, right? And he has a lot more memorable moments in the
and that's it, right?
And that's where he separates himself.
Yeah, greatness comes from a regular season. Legacy comes from postseason. And that's where Harden has not produced a legacy. It's just
I agree with you, man.
He's a great player. As a regular season player, the stats, the numbers don't lie. He's better than Curry. But when the postseason kicks in, Curry's kicked his butt every time they faced each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, for you and me who are basketball hoop heads, we're really into this, right?
Yep.
It kind of snuck up on me that this guy went to top 10.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, for us who are hoop heads, right? And then for anybody else who just kind of maybe is not as into it, but just kind of somebody who just knows about sports and just kind of James Harden, Steph Curry, they're like, oh my God, Steph Curry, because of all the hype he has. Not necessarily he's hyped, but he's always on playoffs, and it's not. James Harden hasn't won any championships, right?
Correct.
But when you compare and contrast the numbers, you'll be like the hoop heads of the non-hoop heads of the world, be like, James Harden has got more points than assists than Steph Curry. No way, that snuck up on me, man. Right?
Yeah.
So isn't it amazing? It's amazing.
I agree. The assists as a hoop head didn't surprise me, but because as Curry's gotten into his career, he's ran less and less point, and really he's really an off guard now. He's not even a point guard anymore. So that doesn't surprise me. The points, though, given the fact that Curry owns the record for 3-pointers, which means that that's so many more points than Harden's. Harden has a lot of 3-pointers as well, but I would have thought that Curry has more points. And I will at least say, if things keep trending, Curry will surpass him, because Curry at this point is having, in my opinion, a better late career boom than Harden is having. But how long Curry's lasts, I don't know. But if it continues another 2 years, he'll catch him.
But here's another argument, bro. All right, James Harden was considered probably maybe the best point getter from the free throw line for a long ass time, bro.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Steph Curry can't even sniff the freaking free throw line.
He can't
half as many times as James Harden. And you can kind of, there's a lot of other podcasts that even talk about kind of like that this is all fixed, right? That this is kind of like the way of keeping Steph Curry, below LeBron James, for instance, right? As far as legacy, right? Because if you count all the fouls that he should have been called, right? It's like the number of points he would have had above to where he's at right now is like multiple thousands of points. Right? So he could be right there with James Harden, if not more, if he got the opportunity to score more points from the free throw line like James Harden did, right?
Well,
so that's that argument.
Yes, but for our conspiracy theorists out there, I would agree with you, except for one simple fact. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has come here and he's continued to get fouls. And to me, getting a foul is a skill.
Yeah.
It is a skill like shooting. It's a skill like rebounding. It's you forcing the refs to make a call.
Yeah.
And Harden is fantastic, borderline cheater at it.
He is
fantastic at it. And so it's, I agree that Curry should be getting many more calls than he's getting. But for whatever reason, his demeanor, his style of play, it doesn't put the referee in a situation where the ref needs to blow the whistle.
Right.
But, when I see Butler, he goes underneath. He shoot, like, the way it just looks is like, dude, this guy's on me. I can't get him off me, And so it forces the ref to blow the whistle. And so I would say that in that skill, Harden is far superior to Curry, in terms of just the ability to get a foul. But yes, I do think there's some unfairness,
For sure.
Like to mention, the rules changed this year on 3-pointers where you can't hit the arm even after the ball is released, which is specifically a Curry created call, right? Because Curry was getting his wrist smacked, after he shot the ball. And, clearly that sticks in your mind and you're reluctant to shoot in the future, So, but yes, just want to point that out.
Yeah. So, kudos to James Harden for, passing up Shaq O'Neal and going to 9th of all time. And now, it's very possible he's going to pass up Wilt. If he continues playing for another couple of years, he'll pass up Wilt in 2 years easily. Right. So I just wanted to go ahead and commend James Harden on something that he accomplished. He's an underrated superstar, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's just that we wanted to kind of illustrate for this because, like I said in the previous podcast, we rolled out our player greatness index, and we had actually had a number that was higher than Steph Curry, and James Harden was higher. And even our Mount Rushmore segment, Steph Curry was one of the guys, right, that we thought should be in there, and James Harden is nowhere to be seen, right? And, this kind of shows that James Harden is a lot better than people think, right? So, all right, man. So we are at like 30 minutes right now, bro. Let's get into Ja Morant, man. So Ja Morant is being talked about as a potential asset that's going to be traded by the trade deadline of February 5th, right? So some of the teams that are linked to him, the Kings, the Wolves, the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls, right? Now, out of all of these teams, who do you say would benefit the greatest? Out of all of these teams, who do you think would benefit the most out of all of these?
So the teams are Giannis, Milwaukee,
Heat,
the Kings, and the Bulls.
And the Wolves.
So the Wolves, the Kings, the Heat, and the Bulls.
And the Bucks.
And the Bucks. 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So right off the top, I would remove the Bucks and I would remove the Heat as the greatest impact to that organization. The Bucks have Giannis, and bringing Ja Morant would be as a number 2 piece.
Yes.
Right? Miami has.
But would it elevate the entire team? Their chances of would they climb the ranks?
Maybe, but it's risky.
Okay.
Risky. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
Miami is the next one I would remove because that's a Pat Riley organization. That organization comes first. And Ja Morant has too much of a history of putting himself first and not thinking of the organization. So also for that organization, very high risk. On a side note, there's been an article that just came out that says Ja Morant just bought a house in Miami, whatever that means. But anyway, okay. So I would eliminate those two. So now that leaves the Bulls, the Kings and the Bucks, right?
Right. The Bulls, the Wolves.
The Wolves, the Kings, and the Bucks.
No, you already said the Bucks. You removed them.
So the Wolves, Kings.
The Bulls, the Wolves, and the Kings.
Yeah. So for the Wolves, also not a fit, right? They have Anthony Edwards.
They're in desperate need of a point guard, though, bro.
I hear you, but I'm looking at personalities. I'm looking at face of the franchise. I'm looking at I think Ja Morant. I don't know if his maturity can handle him being the second, banana. And even in Memphis, where some would argue that Triple J is the main guy, I think they all follow Ja Morant's lead because he's been their leader, right? Yeah. So I think with the Wolves, you also run a risk of conflict with Anthony Edwards, with Julius Randle. Those are tough personalities. So I think there's a high risk there. I think the two rewards lie in the Bulls and the Kings, right? The Kings are not playing well. They're having a very poor season. They don't have a true superstar, okay? So I think with the Kings, I think that's a good fit for Ja Morant in terms of we go as far, Ja, as you can take us, right? That would be an ideal location. Now, he may not like it because of the history of the franchise. And the Bulls, a very similar effect, right? You have Giddey, a couple of other players, but for the most part, he could go in there and be the leader of the organization. And from his perspective, I think that would be a good fit for him.
For him, but not for him.
For him.
Okay.
For him.
Now you look at it from Ja Morant's, if it was his choice and where he'd be the best fit, right? But if you were looking at assets that the Memphis Grizzlies would want, that would help them get past to where they're at right now. All right. Let me go ahead and read you off some of these guys. So you said the Kings, okay? So the Kings, the guys that they have that could be of interest would be Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Russell Westbrook. Okay. That's the Kings. Now, you could probably argue, probably out of those 4, DeMar DeRozan would probably help the Memphis Grizzlies the most out of those 4 in that group.
Yes, agreed.
You say the same thing?
Yeah, he's the best player today. Yes.
Okay. So the next guy, the Wolves. Now, the Wolves have 3 guys that I think that would be attractive to the Memphis Grizzlies. And they are Naz Reid. Okay. You have Dante DiVincenzo. You have Jaden McDaniels. Now, out of these 3, I would argue that DiVincenzo would probably be the best fit. Although I think McDaniels is the best player out of these 3. From a fit standpoint.
Let me think. This is from Memphis. Yeah, DiVincenzo. Yeah. DiVincenzo. Although, what's funny is I'll take any of those 3 players over DeMar DeRozan.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you have to look at it from the GM standpoint. You looked at it from the Ja Morant standpoint, and that makes sense. Yeah. So okay. So now, so out of these guys right now, you're saying the Wolves, McDaniels is the guy that you would pick. Okay. Now let's go to the next.
McDaniels is the best player, but I think DiVincenzo.
Out of all the guys that we mentioned so far, the McDaniels is the best out of the Kings, and then the Wolves, what they have to offer.
He's the best player. Correct.
Okay. Next one, the Miami Heat. These are some of the guys that they could throw in. All right. Bam Adebayo.
Woo!
Okay, Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins.
You think they give a Bam Adebayo for Ja Morant?
I'm just throwing up guys that.
Oh no, I hear you.
That would be interesting to the Memphis Grizzlies would want. Now,
Bam all day.
Yeah, but see, but Memphis already has like a Triple J, right? They already have the Zach Edey. I mean, Bam Adebayo, why, right?
Well, I'm telling you right now, if I can get a Bam Adebayo, I'm trading Ja and Triple J for maybe another point guard or a wing 3-and-D player or something. But to me, I follow the golden rule. Like when you're drafting, never mind what position you need, draft talent. Draft for talent. And out of everyone you just mentioned, dude, I'll take Bam yesterday.
Okay. So, I mean, you could do Bam Adebayo, and I haven't looked at how the contracts kind of work out. I'm just throwing out assets right now, right? So Adebayo and maybe like a Davion Mitchell, for instance, because Davion Mitchell's on the Miami Heat, right? So they could probably do Davion and Adebayo for a Ja Morant and maybe somebody else, from Memphis, right, to kind of make the salaries work. Because I don't know, I think Bam Adebayo might be higher priced out of all those guys, right? All right, so you're saying Adebayo would be the most attractive to Memphis, right? Out of all the guys that we mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, next,
Correct.
the Bucks. Okay, now Giannis is way more valuable. He's not even be considered in this
Well,
conversation.
it would be pointless to pick up Ja and get rid of Giannis. That's just
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the guys that they have are Miles Turner, okay, Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins. It doesn't even sniff not even close to the talent of
No.
what the Miami Heat.
No.
Why the Miami Heat are being linked, right? Because they have they have a talent pool that is very attractive to the Memphis Grizzlies. The last team are the Bulls. Now the Bulls have, Josh Giddey, pretty good player, Nikola Vucevic, old but pretty good player, right? You have Kevin Herter and you have Matas Bucelis. Okay. Now those, out of all that, you still look at the Heat and they have the best package.
Correct. But out of that batch, I'd take Giddey. If he's being offered, I'd take Giddey for Ja.
Okay. So in the order of attractiveness from a GM standpoint, you say Adebayo and the Miami Heat.
Miami Heat are one.
Okay.
Correct.
After that, would you say it's the Wolves or the Bulls? The Wolves are Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels.
The Wolves.
Okay, I agree.
Wolves.
And then after that, it'd be the Bulls.
The Bulls. The
Okay.
Kings are last.
And then the Kings or the
Actually,
Bucks probably the Bucks would be last.
The Bucks would be last. The Kings and the Bucks. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So now you can see like the process, right, of what the GMs are probably considering. Like, you looked at it from hey, I'm Ja Morant, where would I want to go, right? Where would I have the best fit? And then we kind of looked at it from a GM standpoint as to what assets do we value here at Memphis that would help our team, right? Where would it be a win-win situation, right?
Yeah, as you mentioned these names, the one that's kind of ringing to me is Tyler Hero for Ja Morant. That seems fair.
I agree with you.
That seems about right.
I agree with you. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that gets rolled out, man, right?
Yep.
We just went through the process of elimination based on assets. And, we could be the first to call a potential trade that could be happening.
Yep.
And we could be the soothsayer, or, we could be the Nostradamus in this and be able to predict it, right? So, but anyway, so that's interesting. All right, so Ja Morant is going to be on the move. We just kind of went over 5 teams that are potential destinations, and we went through the process of figuring out who the best team could be, and we think it is the Miami Heat, and it's possible that it could be Tyler Hero. All right, man. So the next thing I want to talk about before we get into our Warriors segment is Anthony Davis. Real quick, dude, what the heck is going on here in Dallas, man? I mean, they're like, oh my God, this guy's going to be out months. He needs surgery, and then they go, we're not getting any trades. We need to trade this guy. Let's go ahead and make up a story that he doesn't need to get surgery now. I don't know what is this, man? This is like Bush League over here, man. What are they doing?
Dude, Dallas in a span of a year has gotten such a black eye on that organization. Incredible, dude. They went from, and kudos, and to me, Eddie, I've said this before, and I've said this a million times. The organization's competency and their ability starts with the owner. And when Mark Cuban was there, that organization was run, at least from the outside looking in. I know there's been a lot of like lawsuits and stuff but from the outside looking in, he ran it how it needed to be run. When Joe Lacob took over the Warriors, he ran an organization the way it should be run, and I'm looking at whoever's running the Mavericks right now. And dude, I got to question whether they know anything about basketball or about athletes.
They just care about gambling, bro. That's all they care about.
Yeah, that's insane. Doesn't need it.
I mean, but dude, it's like, what are you doing, man? The Tracy's around the corner. Oh, like, oh my God, he's got this wrist injury. Oh, he's going to be out for months. And it's like, and then it's like, what? And then all of a sudden now they're retracting it, and like, oh my God, they just blew it, dude. It's kind of funny,
it is laughable, and this on the tails of we didn't want Luka because he drank too much beer and because he's fat, and and again, maybe true, but he took you to the Western Conference Finals the year before. The year before you traded him, you guys are in the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
And so,
no, I don't know, man. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because
it's a joke. And Anthony Davis, in fairness, I do think Anthony Davis's pain tolerance is up for debate. I think that if he feels any sort of anything, he's like, I'm not going to play. I think he's very kind of skittish about that. But knowing him, like with all of this, he's like, dude, I'm not playing for you guys ever again. I'm just going to have something wrong with me until you trade me.
Right.
Yeah.
You could call it. I mean, his pain tolerance
it's a
is in
joke.
question. He's gotta get some icy hot, man, or he's gotta do
Yeah, I know
some.
his
I don't
pain
know, he's gotta
tolerance is in question, but
he's gotta be a spokesperson for Aleve or one of these freaking
yeah,
painkiller medicines,
yep,
man. You can make
yeah,
money on the side there. But all right, bro. Let's go ahead and dovetail into our weekly Warriors segment.
yeah,
All right, brother. So
yes,
they are now 3-1 in this homestand. And
yep.
they lost to the Atlanta Hawks just recently, but then they went ahead. Like I called it. It's the like they're due to beat the Blazers, man. Now it took having Avdia be not he was a scratch. He didn't play, right? Even but they the Warriors played with purpose, right? And they have been playing a lot better lately, man. They've won 9 out of their last 14 games, right? So they're actually playing a lot better, man. So and
So I'm actually gonna fine tune that a little bit.
go ahead.
D'Anthony Melton has been playing
Yes.
a lot better in these last set of games. At least in this last set of games, he has been the difference.
So there you go. And that dovetailed into my next thing, right? Pods has been playing well. He has been playing well, but who is really the X factor?
D'Anthony Melton. Without a doubt, it's D'Anthony Melton because he puts everybody else in the place where they should be. He's not Clay, but he fills that Clay spot on the start. Like I know he hasn't been starting, he's been coming off the bench. He is the one, like when you look, D'Anthony's the guy. Like he's the most talented of that bench group.
Absolutely.
And so he's starting to come into his own. And to me, that's been the difference. I mean, they beat Portland and Curry had 7 points.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's all you need to know.
And if they continue doing that, they're a problem again.
Yes.
Right? Now,
I will one caveat though, Eddie.
Yeah.
All of these games are at home, and a lot of these younger players play better at home than they do on the road. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm talking Pods, Post,
Moody.
the younger
Yeah.
players.
Pods, Moody, Post, right? And Gabe Santos. Those 4 guys have been the four young bucks that have actually been playing the most minutes, realistically. Pat Spencer has not even sniffed the court, bro. Right? We all know about Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga has not played since I think December 19th or something like that.
He's played his final game in a Warriors uniform.
Yeah, he has. I mean, next I think it's by tomorrow is when he's tradable, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if he's and now from all the reports that we've heard, following the local sports networks and also talk radio, that the market is somewhat cool for him, big time, and it's likely because of a lot of these GMs are going, hey man, if the Warriors are not playing him, shoot man, maybe this guy isn't really that valuable, right? I mean, that's the full sword you're playing, right?
That is one angle. Another angle that I've heard is they're not playing him because they've already traded him. And so the new team doesn't want him risking getting hurt. And interestingly enough, I don't know if I brought this up last week. They sat Michael Porter Jr. one of the games, the last game they played before tomorrow.
Yep.
And there's a lot of things I'm reading where the belief is that they're going to trade him for Michael Porter Jr.
But there's probably more than just. I mean, there's other.
What I'm seeing is something like
Buddy Hield,
and Moses Moody, and 1 first-round pick. And the struggle is between 1 or 2 first-round picks. I think Brooklyn wants 2. The Warriors only want to give up 1.
Yep.
And I think that's that. So we'll find out quickly if I'm a liar or not. By the time this posts tomorrow, we may already know. But that's
and I'm not mad at that, bro. I'm not mad at that because Buddy Hield has also been out of the rotation, and it's because a deal has already been done, like you said. I mean, he played garbage minutes a couple nights ago, right? He played but didn't really play that long. That was his only real minutes since, right? I'm not mad at Michael Porter Jr. I've always thought he'd be a good fit for the Warriors because he adds that element that we lost with Clay, right?
Correct.
And he can shoot, and he can shoot probably above most people in the NBA because he's 6'10" and he has a high release point, and it's a pretty quick release, right? It's the only thing that's kind of questionable about him is his defense and his rebounding for his size, right?
No, his defense is poor and his rebounding is poor. I agree on both of those.
Yep. And it's maybe, and the thing is that the Warriors are known for turning players around to be better all around players, right?
Correct.
And that might be the reason why Jonathan Kuminga's market has somewhat turned, is because the Warriors are known for being the team that can turn players around and make them more well-rounded. And if they can't make this guy more well-rounded, then they're like, but the Warriors don't want him. Why do we want him, right? But he's got tantalizing freaking athleticism, right?
He
And
does.
right, and with the right system, this guy could, hopefully flourish. I'm pulling for the guy, honestly, man. I really, I think that, as stubborn as he may have been throughout this whole process, you see glimpses of holy crap, this guy could be really good, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you just need that more consistently, right? And maybe he needs to be in a situation where, he doesn't have the gravity of Steph Curry, where he's the guy, he's the main offensive guy that then he can kind of, in his mind, develop his game to be a better all around player, to be the number one on that team. Cause he's never going to be the number one on this team, bro.
No, and honestly, I'll say this: as much as I also hope he does well. He'll never be the number one on a championship team.
Yeah, I
If
agree
he
with
wants
you.
to win a championship, he's going to have to be. If he develops, maybe two, most likely three, the third best player on the team.
Yeah, yeah. And it very well could be that he goes to someone like a Brooklyn Nets, right? And becomes the number one. And then, they have like, Cam Thomas, who's also scorer. They also have a Nick Claxton, although I'd really rather have Nick
Oh,
Claxton,
me too. Me too.
right, than
Me
Michael
too.
Porter. Right, right. But they have, a Day'Ron Sharp, they have a Zaire Williams, they have, a bunch of guys that are similar athleticism, but no one really pops out from a scoring standpoint. And that's, although Michael Porter Jr. proved that differently, right? He's having the best, season of his career right now. And because he's the real main scoring threat on that team. So you can kind of see how much a Kuminga can thrive in a situation where he's the dominant guy, right? And maybe they're willing to take that shot, because we all know Brooklyn Nets are nowhere to be. They're not even a sniff the playoffs
No,
in the next two
no,
years. Right?
and what I would ask the
Rebuilding.
fans, because I think one thing is going to happen, and that is if he gets wherever he gets traded, whether it's wherever he goes, if the team is a lower seeded team,
Yeah.
just a poorer team, he's going to get his numbers. And what I would ask the fans is, I can see Kuminga averaging 22 and 22 points a game easily.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can see him doing. But what I would ask the fans or anybody who follows basketball is that translating into wins?
Yes.
Or is that team winning? Because just because he scores 22, 24 points a night doesn't mean we were wrong for letting him go. Because we're focused on trying to win. And that's the thing that I think Kuminga misses, at least right now. He's missing it. Like, I can score, I can do this. Yeah, but are you winning? And
Right.
that's the part that it's really going to be an experiment for me to really track him, because I am curious how his career turns out, because I do think he's a freakishly athletic guy. And I do think that if he honed on, number one, ball handling skills, and number two, rebounding and defense, if he could improve those three things, he
Yeah.
would be one hell of a player. But
And he still could be, man, because he's still really young.
No,
right?
he is really young, but if he can
Yeah.
improve those, then I think the sky's the limit. But if he's just a scorer, then, he's got a couple of years in him, and then the league's going to forget about him.
Yeah, and the thing is that from the Brooklyn Nets standpoint, they look at, Michael Porter Jr., who, has had some serious back issues, right? He's had a couple back surgeries. He's, a little older, right? And scored well, right? And from a Brooklyn Nets standpoint, they're going, okay, we benefited from having a scorer like that, but he is somewhat of a ticking time bomb with that back issue, right? And why not bring in somebody who's tantalizing scorer, who's been in a system where he probably just needs a change of scenery, but all of that stuff that he learned is there, right? And he can bring some of that to this organization, and we can help him flourish in the manner that he wants to and be the same scorer that a Michael Porter Jr. is, and is 3 years minimum younger, right? So that's probably what is going into this, right? But anyway,
and if we hate him, we got a team option to just drop him next year.
Yeah.
And not pay him a dime,
Yep.
So, he's got a real team friendly option. So
Yep.
And of course, if he turns out to be great, they're going to pay through the nose the year after. But hey, then it's just worth it and move on.
So now let's go ahead and with the amount of time that we have left, right?
Yes.
Now let's just say that this deal happens. Okay.
Okay.
We lose Moses Moody. We lose. Now let me ask you: it's Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, and Kuminga. No Quentin.
That's what I'm hearing.
No Quentin Post. No Pajemski. No. Right. Okay.
And again, this is what I'm reading. It doesn't mean.
Yeah. But let's just say it just for fun, right?
Those are the three names that I heard.
Okay. So now We have Michael Porter Jr. We don't have a
Yes.
Buddy Hield.
Yes.
We don't have a freaking we said Buddy Hield and
Kuminga,
Kuminga
and Moody.
and Moses Moody. Kuminga, Moses Moody, right? We don't have those guys. What's the starting lineup now? And what's the rotation with Michael Porter Jr.? What does it look like?
Sure, I still got Post starting as big.
Yep.
I got Michael Porter as the 4.
Okay. Oh, you have him as the 4. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
So then you have Green coming off the bench.
Well, that's where I'm pondering, right? Do we have Green as the 3 and Butler as the 2 and Curry as the 1? Or do we have Butler as the 3, Melton as the 2, and Curry as the 1? That's where I'm, and to me, I'm leaning towards having Draymond come off the bench. That's where I'm leaning.
Okay.
But I could also be on board with Draymond at the 3, because now what we have is we have 3 really good 3-point shooters in Porter, Post, and Curry. We've got 1 real good basket attacker in Butler, right? And then Draymond can stick to what Draymond does, and it won't hurt as much as like the current lineup, where whoever was playing the 2, DeAnthony Melton was still picking up, but when Pods plays or Moses Moody plays, they have their offensive deficiency is too great, and it can't be made up, and it's magnified by the lack of Draymond offense. And so with Porter in there, that kind of changes it. It kind of now distributes the ball, and I could see that. Although for me, I'd prefer Melton at the 2, Curry at the 1, Butler at the 3, and Porter and Post down low.
Okay, so that would support your theory of Draymond Green coming off the bench. Right?
Yes.
I
What are your
think
thoughts?
I think that they won't put him in the starting lineup right away. I think that they're going to have him come off the bench initially.
For Porter.
Yes, Porter.
Okay.
I think what they're going to do, and I think they're going to probably do like because now Moody was the starter, right? So now Moody's gone, right? I think DeAnthony Melton has proved that he can start now. All right?
Mhm.
So I think they're going to put Curry, DeAnthony Melton, then they're going to put Butler and keep Green and Post. And then the first guy to relieve, off the bench, would be, Michael Porter to come in either for, a Draymond Green, right? And then have Jimmy Butler still be the Draymond Green. And then, you have DeAnthony Melton still there. And then you bring, Pajemski to relieve, DeAnthony Melton. And then you have Curry, DeAnthony Melton, Porter, Butler, and Pods for a little bit. And then you bring in, Al Horford to come in, right? And then you bring in, Draymond Green to take in, it's going to be like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's going to be, that's what I think initially to get them acclimated to the system. I think that's what's going to happen. That's the way I think Kerr is going to play it, because now he has this lethal scorer that he can bring off the bench to play against the bench players of the other team, right? And get a lot of points with, Jimmy Butler being the facilitator of the second unit, which he has been doing, right? So that's my call. I think what's going to happen is DeAnthony Melton's going to slot in as the starter, and then you're going to have Porter coming off the bench. If that goes through.
Yep. And to me, I mean, and I've said this before, I love Moody, and I've been a Moody fan since the day we drafted him. But if Moody disappears, that means Will Richard plays more. And in my opinion, at least at this point in time, he's an upgrade over Moody. He's just a better player than Moody.
He is a better player. I agree with you. Yeah. Moody's a better defensive player right now, but I think Will Richard will become a better defensive player than Moody.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Well, he's a better side-to-side defender, but an attack defender, I think Will Richard might be a little bit better.
We shall see, man. We shall see. Well, hey, bro, we're at an hour, man, right? And we try and keep these within an hour. So for those of you, just tuning in, we're here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We are Buzzer Beaters, a podcast that's brought to you by gremlinsmedia.com. We're an NBA-specific podcast. You can find us there as well as wherever you can find your podcast. I'm Eddie Aparicio. This is Anthony Tuan Corral. We're also known as the Cisco Kids. And please tune in next week. And until then, we're signing off. Take care, everybody.
Hey everybody, this is William Del Pilar, founder of Gremlins Media, and I want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our all-volunteer efforts at Gremlins Media, smash the subscribe button right here. 100% free, and please consume and share our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes for more of our work.